This is how it began, and how it would end, on the long pale strand of a Lincolnshire beach in the last hour of sun, the daylight moon small as a kite in the sky. Far below, a child of 3 was playing by herself with a new tin spade. It was still strangely warm in that autumn of 1929, and she'd taken off her plimsolls to feel the day's heat lingering in the sand beneath her feet. Short fair hair, no coat, blue eyes, dressed to match. That was the description later given to the police. She'd come out of the house that afternoon and along the short path to the beach with her mother, Mrs. Vida Elston. They'd already been there for some time, with biscuits in an old tartan tin, digging and sieving the sand. The tide was receding when they arrived, the concussion of waves on the shore gradually quietening as the day wore on. By now, the sea was almost half a mile in the distance. In this lull, on their own familiar beach and so comfortingly close to home, Vida must have let her daughter wander free for a moment, for she did not see what happened next. Someone moved swiftly across the beach and began talking to the little girl. Someone she perhaps knew, because no sounds were heard as they coaxed her away. 1 minute she was there, barefoot and absorbed, spade in hand. Seconds later, she was taken off the sands at the village of Chapel St. Leonard's, apparently without anybody noticing at all. Thus was my mother kidnapped. I see the scene again and again, always trying to grasp the unfathomable moment in which she vanished and everything changed. The place where she was playing empties into air. The tide freezes. The beach turns blank. Time stands still on the shore. How many minutes before her absence begins to register? Before Vida becomes uneasy and then fearful? Before the silence is broken by shouting and rushing to the spot where the spade lies fallen? The waves continue their impervious lapping, gulls drifting on the surface as the afternoon fades. How long before anybody missed my mother? I have the police report of that day. It is scant. Mrs. Elston takes her daughter to the beach at or around 2:30 p.m. Approximately 2 hours later, the child disappears so fast that she couldn't have got anywhere near the water. Unable to find her on the sands, Mrs. Elston retraces their steps, searching the path and even the house, in case she might have found her way home. Neighbours help look for the child. An urgent telegram is sent to the father, who is away for work, summoning him back to chapel. All of this is duly reported to the police, but not until the following day, and not, I suspect, by Vida. I hear instead the brisk authority of my grandfather George. Vida appears silent with shock. All she offers, via her husband, is the possibility that the child must have wandered up the beach behind her and out of sight. She herself was sitting on a blanket, knitting or staring dreamily out to sea in the mild afternoon sun, as I imagine it, with one eye on the child, occasionally plying her with biscuits, until she just slipped out of view. Perhaps the crisis was not immediately apparent. After all, the beach at Chapel was so innocent, like the child herself, and her little legs could not have carried her far. But then came darkness with no trace, and more stricken searching, before Vida had to spend the first dreadful night alone without her daughter. How could she have disappeared? The beach, to begin with, is completely flat. A broad street of spotless sand scattered with angel wing shells, it seems to stretch forever in both directions. There are no coves, dunes, or rocks where an adult could hide a child. Everything stands in open view. To reach it, you must walk up and over an artificial incline of heaped sand that is supposed to act as a barrier to the sea, a barrier so ineffectual that houses, cattle, and villagers have been swept away in historic storms. This little embankment runs for miles along the coastline, and from its top People can be seen walking far away in the distance. Tennyson, the Victorian poet, born and raised not far from Chapel, was drawn back to it all through his life. "I used to stand on this sand-built ridge," he wrote in old age, "and think it was the spine-bone of the world." Vida's mother once saw Tennyson on Chapel sands, pressing along against the strident northeasterly winds, black cloak blowing, hat held on in brows down melancholy. Come over this ridge, and even more surprising than the flatness is the way the sand appears to merge with the sea. The beach is tawny brown, and so is the brine, because it washes over beds of clay. On a still day they become one vast continuous expanse, an optical illusion only dispelled when a chink of reflected blue sky spangles the water, or a sudden gust troubles its surface. Perhaps that stillness slowed the events of the day. Vida did not notice what was happening quickly enough. Nobody scrambled up that ridge in time to spot any hurriedly departing figures. Footsteps muffled by the sand, voices dispersed on the mellow sea air. All it took was a prolonged moment of parental inattention. No commotion. Nobody saw. And perhaps there were few other people there to witness the incident, for it was a weekday afternoon in October. Nor was this yet a crowded beach as it is today in high season. Black and white photographs from the 1920s show deserted sands, or very occasional hikers in hobnail boots and straw hats, buying tea from a hut by the pulley, as they still call the narrow passage where horses once pulled cargoes of tobacco and paraffin over the ridge into the village.